Yo, the realization of selfless love. Which you could look at me, I'm such a self type of person, you know. Anyway, I'm getting better, right? Trying. The realization of selfless love. It is said that Michelangelo saw in every rough block of stone a thing of beauty awaiting the master hand to bring it into reality. Even so, within each there reposes the divine image awaiting the master hand of faith and the chisel of patience to bring it into manifestation. And that divine image is revealed and realized as stainless, selfless love. Hidden deep in every human heart, though frequently covered up with a mass of hard and almost impenetrable accretions, is the spirit of divine love, whose holy and spotless essence is undying and eternal. It is truth, it is that which belongs to the Supreme, that which is real and immortal. All else changes and passes away. This alone is permanent and imperishable. And to realize this love by ceaseless diligence in the practice of the highest righteousness, to live in it and to become fully conscious in it, is to enter into immortality here and now, is to become one with the truth, one with God, one with the central heart of all things, and to know our own divine and eternal nature. To reach this love, to understand and experience it, you must work with great persistency and diligence upon your heart and mind. Must ever renew your patience and keep strong your faith, for there will be much to remove, much to accomplish before the divine image is revealed in all its glorious beauty. Those who strive to reach and to accomplish the divine will be tried to the very uttermost. And this is absolutely necessary, for how else could they acquire that sublime patience without which there is no real wisdom, no divinity? All their work will seem to be futile, and their efforts appear to be thrown away. Now and then a hasty touch will mar their image, and perhaps when they imagine their work is almost completed, they will find that they imagined to be the beautiful form of divine love utterly destroyed, and they must begin again, and with this past bitter experience to guide and help them. But those who have resolutely set themselves to realize the highest recognize no such thing as defeat. But those who have resolutely set themselves to realize the highest recognize no such thing as defeat. All failures are apparent, not real. Every slip, every fall, every return to selfishness is a lesson learned, an experience gained from which a golden grain of wisdom is extracted, helping the striver toward the accomplishment of his lofty object. To recognize this is to enter the way that leads unmistakably toward the divine. Once come to regard your failings, your sorrows and sufferings, as so many voices telling you plainly where you are weak and faulty, where you fall below the true and the divine, you will then begin to ceaselessly watch yourself, and every slip, every pang of pain will show you where you are to set your work, and what you have to remove out of your heart in order to bring it nearer to the likeness of the divine, nearer to the perfect love. As you proceed day by day, detaching yourself more and more from the inward selfishness, the love that is selfless will gradually become revealed to you, and when you are growing patient and calm, when your petulance, tempers, and irritabilities are passing away from you, and the most powerful lusts and prejudices cease to dominate and enslave you, then you will know that the divine is awakening within you, that you are drawing near to the eternal heart, that you are not far from the selfless love, the possession of which is peace and immortality. Divine love is distinguished from human loves in this supremely important particular. It is free from partiality. Human loves cling to a particular object to the exclusion of all self. When the object is removed, great and deep is the resultant suffering to the one who loves. Divine love embraces the whole universe, and without clinging to any part, yet contains within itself the whole. Those who come to it by gradually purifying and broadening their human loves until all the selfish and impure elements are burned out of them, cease from suffering. It is because human loves are narrow and confined and mingled with selfishness that they cause suffering. No suffering can result from that love which is so absolutely pure that it seeks nothing for itself. Nevertheless, human loves are absolutely necessary as steps toward the divine, and no soul is prepared to partake of divine love until it has become capable of the deepest and most intense human love. It is only by passing through human loves and human sufferings that divine love is reached and realized. All human loves are perishable, like the forms to which they cling. But there is a love that is imperishable and that does not cling to appearances. All human loves are counterbalanced by human hates, but there is a love that admits of no opposite or reaction, divine and free from all taint of self, that sheds its fragrance on all alike. Human loves are reflections of the divine love and draw the soul nearer to the reality, the love that knows neither sorrow nor change. It is well that the mother, clinging with passionate tenderness to the little helpless form of flesh that lies on her bosom, should be overwhelmed with the dark waters of sorrow when she sees it laid in the cold earth. It is well that her tears should flow and her heart ache, for only thus can she be reminded of the evanescent nature of the joys and objects of sense and be drawn nearer to the eternal and imperishable reality. It is well that lover, brother, sister, husband, wife should suffer deep anguish and be enveloped in gloom when the visible object of their affections is torn from them, so that they may learn to turn their affections toward the invisible source of all, where alone abiding satisfaction is to be found. It is well that the proud, the ambitious, the self-seeking should suffer defeat, humiliation, and misfortune, that they should pass through the scorching fires of affliction. For only thus can the wayward soul be brought to reflect upon the enigma of life. Only thus can the heart be softened and purified and prepared to receive the truth. Trust me, when I was younger, I was living a different life, and thank God the world allowed me to see the blindness I was living in, and I could attest to a lot of what he's writing here. And I'm assuming this is a man that's been through, that has some sort of life gave him this knowledge, you know. When the sting of anguish penetrates the heart of human love, when gloom and loneliness and desertion cloud the soul of friendship and trust, then it is that the heart turns toward the sheltering love of the eternal and finds rest in its silent peace. And whosoever comes to this love is not turned away comfortless, it is not pierced with anguish or surrounded with gloom, and is never deserted in the dark hour of trial. The glory of divine love can only be revealed in the heart that is chastened by sorrow. The glory of divine love can only be revealed in the heart that is chastened by sorrow, and the image of the heavenly state can only be perceived and realized when the lifeless, formless accretions of ignorance and self are hewn away, or hewn away, H-E-W-N, are hewn away. Only that love that seeks no personal gratification or reward, that does not make distinctions, and that leaves behind no heartaches can be called divine. That leaves behind no heartaches, meaning treating people right. People clinging to self and to the comfortless shadows of evil are in the habit of thinking of divine love as something belonging to a God who is out of reach, as something outside themselves that must forever remain outside. Truly, the love of God is ever beyond the reach of self, but when the heart and mind are emptied of self, then the selfless love, the supreme love, the love that is of God or good, becomes an inward and abiding reality. But how may one attain to this sublime realization? The answer which truth has always given and will ever give to this question is, empty thyself and I will fill thee. Divine love cannot be known until self is dead. For self is the denial of love, and how can that which is known be also denied? Those who have realized the love that is divine are reborn and cease to be swayed and dominated by the old elements of self, to be reborn again. They are known for their patience, purity, self-control, deep charity of heart, and unalterable sweetness. Divine or selfless love is not a mere sentiment or emotion. It is a state of knowledge which destroys the dominion of evil. It is a state of knowledge which destroys the dominion of evil and the belief in evil, and lifts the soul into the joyful realization of the supreme God. To the divinely wise, knowledge and love are one and inseparable. It is toward the complete realization of this divine love that the whole world is moving. It was for this purpose that the universe came into existence, and every grasping at happiness, every reaching out of the soul toward objects, ideas, and ideals is an effort to realize it. But the world does not realize this love at present because it is grasping at the fleeting shadow and ignorant. Okay, let me read it again. But the world does not realize this love at present because it is grasping at the fleeting shadow and ignoring in its blindness the substance. And so suffering and sorrow continue and must continue until the world, taught by its self-inflicted pains, discovers the love that is selfless, the wisdom that is calm and full of peace. And this love, this wisdom, this peace, this tranquil state of mind and heart may be attained to, may be realized by all who are willing and ready to yield up self, and who are prepared to humbly enter into a comprehension of all that the giving up of self involves. There is no arbitrary power in the universe, and the strongest chains of fate by which people are bound are self-forged. They are chained to that which causes suffering because they desire to be so, because they love their chains, because they think their little dark prison of self is sweet and beautiful, and they are afraid that if they desert that prison, they will lose all that is real and worth having. And the indwelling power which forged the chains and built around itself the dark and narrow prison can break away when it desires and wills to do so, and the soul does will to do so when it has discovered the worthlessness of its prison, when long suffering has prepared it for the reception of the boundless light and love. As the shadow follows the form. He's saying, like, I guess you don't learn until you're really at your lowest, you know? I used to be there, you know, I thank the Lord, man. Some people may never have to get there. As the shadow follows the form, and as smoke comes after fire, so effect follows cause. And suffering and bliss follow our thoughts and deeds. There is no effect in the world around us but has its hidden or revealed cause. And that cause is in accordance with absolute justice. People reap a harvest of suffering because in the near or distant past they have sown the seeds of evil. They reap a harvest of bliss also as a result of their own sowing of the seeds of good. Let us meditate upon this, let us strive to understand it, and we will then begin to sow only seeds of good, and will burn up the tares and weeds which had formerly grown in the garden of our hearts. The world does not understand the love that is selfless because it is engrossed in the pursuit of its own pleasures and cramped within the narrow limits of perishable interest, mistaking in its ignorance those pleasures and interests for real and abiding things, caught in the flames of fleshly lust and burning with anguish. It sees not the pure and peaceful beauty of truth, feeding upon the swinish husks of error and self-delusion. It is shut out from the mansion of all-seeing love. Not having this love, not understanding it, we institute innumerable reforms which involve no inward sacrifice, and we imagine that our reform is going to right the world forever, while we continue to propagate evil by engaging in it in our own hearts. That only can be called reform. That only can be called reform which tends to reform the human heart. For all evil has its rise there, and not until the world, ceasing from selfishness and party strife, has learned the lesson of divine love will it realize the golden age of universal blessedness. Let the rich cease to despise the poor, and the poor to condemn the rich. Let the greedy learn how to give, and the lustful how to grow pure. Let the partisan cease from strife, and the uncharitable begin to forgive. Let the envious endeavor to rejoice with others, and the slanderers grow ashamed of their conduct. Let men and women take this course, and lo, the golden age is at hand. Those who purify their own hearts are the world's greatest benefactors. Yet though the world is and will be for many ages to come shut out from that age of gold, which is the realization of selfless love, you, if you are willing, may enter it now by rising above your selfish self, if you will pass from prejudice, hatred, and condemnation to gentle and forgiving love. Where hatred, dislike, and condemnation are, selfless love does not abide. It resides only in the heart that has ceased from all condemnation. You say, how can I love the drunkard, the hypocrite, the sneak, the murderer? I am compelled to dislike and condemn such people. It is true you cannot love such people emotionally, but when you say that you must perforce dislike and condemn them, you show that you are not acquainted with the great overruling love. For it is possible to attain to such a state of interior enlightenment as will enable you to perceive the train of causes by which these people have become as they are, to enter into their intense sufferings, and to know the certainty of their ultimate purification. Possessed of such knowledge, it will be utterly impossible for you any longer to dislike or condemn them, and you will always think of them with perfect calmness and deep compassion. If you love people and speak of them with praise until they in some way thwart you, or piss you off, or do something of which you disapprove, and then you dislike them and speak of them with dispraise, you are not governed by the love that is of God. If in your heart you are continually arraigning and condemning others, selfless love is hidden from you. Those who know that love is at the heart of all things and have realized the all-sufficing power of that love have no room in their hearts for condemnation. Those not knowing this love constitute themselves judge and executioner of others, forgetting that there is the eternal judge and executioner. And insofar as people deviate from them in their own views, their particular reforms and methods, they brand them as fanatical, unbalanced, lacking judgment, sincerity, and honesty. So they're lacking judgment, sincerity, and honesty. Insofar as others approximate to their own standard, do they look upon them as being everything that is admirable. So he says, insofar as others approximate to their own standard, do they look upon them as being everything that is admirable. So he's saying only he's saying that you're the law that was already set in place before we even came to earth, the earthly law, the earthly truth. You're making your own law. Because it says it right here. Insofar as others approximate to their own standard, do they look upon them as being everything that is admirable. So it's like you created it yourself, so you're not letting, I don't know, you're living by your own truth, which is selfish. Such are those who are centered in self. But those whose hearts are centered in the supreme love do not so brand and classify others, do not seek to convert others to their own views, or to convince them of the superiority of their methods. Knowing the law of love, they live it and maintain the same calm attitude of mind and sweetness of heart toward all. The debased and the virtuous, the foolish and the wise, the learned and the unlearned, the selfish and the unselfish, receive alike the benediction of their tranquil thoughts. You can only attain to this supreme knowledge, this divine love, by unremitting endeavor and self-discipline, and by gaining victory after victory over yourself. Only the pure in heart see God, and when your heart is sufficiently purified, you will enter into the new birth, and the love that does not die or change or end in pain and sorrow will be awakened within you, and you will be at peace. Those who strive for the attainment of divine love are ever seeking to overcome the spirit of condemnation. For where there is pure spiritual knowledge, condemnation cannot exist. Like to be the judge of others, to condemn others, or call it, to put others' situations on blast, forgetting about your own. And only in the heart that has become incapable of condemnation is love perfected and fully realized. The Christian condemns the atheist satisfies. Excuse me. The Christian condemns the atheist. I need some water, sorry. The Christian condemns the atheist satirizes the Christian, like satire, but satirizes. The Catholic and Protestant are ceaselessly engaged in wordy warfare, and the spirit of strife and hatred rules where peace and love should be. Until you can regard people of all religions and of no religion with the same impartial spirit, with all freedom from dislike, and with perfect equanimity, You have yet to strive for that love which bestows upon its possessor freedom and salvation. The realization of divine knowledge. Selfless love utterly destroys the spirit of condemnation, disperses all evil, and lifts the consciousness to that height of pure vision where love, goodness, and justice are seen to be universal, supreme, all-conquering, and indestructible. Somebody can. Train your mind in strong, impartial, and gentle thought. Train your heart in purity and compassion. Train your tongue to silence and to true and stainless speech. So shall you enter the way of holiness and peace, and shall ultimately realize the immortal love. So living, without seeking to convert, you will convince. Without arguing, you will teach. Not cherishing ambition, the wise will find you out. And without striving to gain others' opinions, you will subdue their hearts. For love is all-conquering, all-powerful, and the thoughts and deeds and words of love can never perish. To know that love is universal, supreme, all-sufficing, like all-satisfying. To be freed from the trammels of evil. To be quit of the inward unrest. To know that all people are striving to realize the truth, each in his own way. To be satisfied, sorrowless, serene. This is peace, this is gladness, this is immortality, this is divinity. This is the realization of selfless love. Okay, James Allen. I like that chapter, man. Peace.